Hey friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Daniel, and today I want to share with you my lessons from reading the Millionaire Success Habit. So I've read a number of books, and by far this is one of my favorite books. And as the year starts, and I think this is a good book that can really get you started for the year. And I'll definitely recommend this book for anyone who wants to be more intentional about building their life for success. So let's dive right into it. The book is written by Dean Graziosi, who is a millionaire who made his fortune as an entrepreneur. So if you've not read the book, you might think the book talks a lot about money and how to become a millionaire by just following certain steps, but it actually doesn't. It actually talks about making small shifts to your daily routines by replacing the things that you don't like with the things that serves you well, and ways in which you can develop yourself for a better future. So the introduction of the book actually gives us a clear picture of some of the things that we are going to learn or get out of the book. And it talks about a guy called JP. So JP is actually a guy who adopted certain principles and also changed certain things in his habits that yielded a different outcome in his life. So JP's story is actually very interesting, and one of the first things that he had to learn was to have the attitude to stand for what he believed to be right for him. Because at a very young age, his teacher actually told him that he wouldn't be able to amount to anything. So at that point, he had to think to himself that, hey, I can actually become what I want to be. And another thing that JP also had to learn at a very young age was to be more enthusiastic about doing his sales. So even after being rejected more than 50 times, he still had to learn to be enthusiastic about going for the next one. And there were so many other things that it shared about JP's life. One of it was that he became homeless, and he had to learn to look up even when things were not aligned, or even when there wasn't much hope or much to look back to. So this might sound like something very basic that we all know about, because we know that we are supposed to be enthusiastic, we are supposed to be positive and all of that. But one thing I like about the book is that it actually shows you plainly those specific habits that you need to have, and also how to apply them. So it helps you to be more intentional about certain habits, because it teaches you the importance of those habits. You might have them, but you might not know how important it is. So reading the book actually brought my mind to the very importance of those little habits and those little things that I need to take note of. So let's dive right into it. So before going into the chapters, I just want to take some time to talk about some few things. So at the time of reading the book, I had actually not heard a millionaire talk about his personal life or his journey to a certain degree. The author of this book actually shares a lot about his background and how he saw things from his perspective, how he reasoned things, and how he came to the resolution of what he should do. He talked about certain things that was going through his mind and the specific challenges that he was facing. He gives a more personal insight into how he had to make new decisions and take new steps, and even talk about how he was feeling when he was taking those steps. And he actually tells it in a story form that makes it very easy for you to relate with it, instead of trying to show you specific steps that you should take on how to move from one point to another. And after reading the book, one of the things that I really picked up from the book was that I can actually choose a life that I want instead of making life happen to me. And for me, that was mind-blowing, because I was like, I can define what I want and I can make it happen. And it taught me to define clearly some of the things that I want for my life, and also go after them or work towards them, no matter how big they are. And because he shared his story to a much detailed level, it was much easier for me to relate with it. So at the point of taking certain actions in my life, even when I faced certain roadblocks, I just was able to bring up his story and was like, okay, he had certain challenges like this, and this was how he went about it. So I tried those things, and even when things did not work, I became more resilient to try something else, because I started to build certain habits that propelled me forward. It really shaped my mind to see the world as my canvas, to be able to build the life that I wanted to have, or the things that I wanted to have. And it also helped me to start to constructively take steps on how to move from one point to another. I think it is more about becoming. And for me, that was one of the best things that I got from the book, because it is what you become that makes you attract certain things to your life. So it taught me the habits, those things that I can stop doing and those things that I need to start doing for me to move from one point to another. So now let's talk about the chapters. I'm actually going to break it down into 3 different parts. Now, so the book doesn't break it down in that way, because it has about 11 chapters. But then in terms of grouping it and how it progresses you from one level to another, I'm going to break it down into 3 different steps. So the first part is actually going to consist of chapter 1 to chapter 4. And a summary for it would be how to identify your millionaire success habits. It talks about being able to identify your why, your specific why, what moves you. And then it also talks about something called the villain within. That is the things that actually holds you back. And it also unlocks certain secrets on how to be more productive with yourself. So it is more focused on you on the very first few chapters. Chapter 1 talks about the importance of desiring for a change financially. It talks about the new way of seeing productivity, because for many people, it's like when you put in more time, that means that you are being more productive and you should be getting more outcome. But a lot has changed lately in our society. So it talks about the new way of seeing productivity. And for me, one of the things that I picked up from chapter 1 is that at any point in time that you decide to make a change in your life, you can actually plan for it and then go for it. And it may not always be too late to be able to take certain actions or start propelling towards a certain future that you desire. So chapter 2 talks about intentionality, and there are two very important things that it pointed out. That is being able to define clearly where you want to go, and it also shows you the steps on how to set your goals. So one of the first things that you need to know is that you need to be able to define where you are right now. That is the place that you are in financially and career-wise and other aspect of your life. You need to be able to be more truthful to yourself and define, okay, this is where I am right now. And the second thing that you also want to be able to do is that you want to be able to define where you want to go. Okay, financially, this is where I want to be. Education-wise, this is where I want to be. In my personal development, this is where I want to be. In my health, this is where I want to be. So he actually shared a very simple way on how to define exactly where you want to go. And that is looking back into the future. So let's imagine today is someday next year, and just try and imagine, okay, if today is 1 year from now, how does my life look like? Do I have these things in my life? Do I have certain things in my life? Do I have certain goals achieved? How does it feel like? And then you want to be able to write those things down. That is where you want to be a year from now. And moving on with the goal setting, one of the things that he talked about that was very powerful for me, that is something that I actually apply in other aspects of my life. That is identifying your why. He talked about this simple tool called the 7-level deep. So the 7-level deep is actually a technique that actually helps you to get to the bottom of the real reason why you're actually taking an action. So I'm going to share with you a basic example of how the 7-level deep actually looks like. So let's say I want to write a book. The first question is, why do you want to write a book? I might be like, I want to write a book because I want to be able to impact the lives of millions of people. So the second question becomes, why do you want to impact the lives of millions of people? And the answer could be because it feels better to serve other people. And the next question becomes, why does it feel amazing to be able to help other people? And the answer could be, it allows me to build a business based on solid principles and value. And the next question would be, why does it allow you to build a business on solid principle and value? And an answer could be, I want to leave a legacy for my family. So then you realize that we are going deeper into something more closer to the reason why we are writing the book. And so we do this 7 times and ask question why on every single answer that we get until we get to the last answer to the last why. And on that, you would get to the most important reason why you're actually taking an action. And since that answer is actually going to be something that is very close to your heart, it gives you a very good motivation for that action that you want to take. So it is not just about, hey, I want to write a book because I want to impact the lives of millions of people, but then there's a much deeper reason why we are taking that action, and that is always the thing that kind of motivates you to keep on going or keeps you on your toes to keep on moving. So this is one of the things that you learn about the goal setting in chapter 2. Chapter 3 talks about the villain within, and I really like this chapter because it helped me to see clearly the things that were holding me back. And it talks about 2 wolves. So everyone has 2 wolves in them. One is positive and one is negative. Whoever wins is the wolf you feed. So there are actually 4 main things that I just want to point out here on that chapter. It talks about some of the ways that we end up feeding the negative wolf, and it talks about how sometimes we end up consuming bad news or consuming bad content, which makes us feel more negative. And that is just a little habit that you can just, turn off or on. So the first thing is that we feed the villain by taking in bad news, and also it's very important for us to work on our strengths instead of our weaknesses. And most of the time people focus on getting their weaknesses right, and then they do not build on their strengths, and they always have negative things to look back at instead of leaning more into the strengths and the abilities that they have that can help them to move forward. And another thing that it also points out, which is very similar to what I shared earlier about focusing more on your strength instead of your weaknesses, is that learn to get amazing with the things that you are already good at. So once you're able to lean more into the things that you're already good at, it builds your confidence, and then you're able to channel that confidence into the things that you are not very good at. And one last thing is that it also points out the importance of being able to identify the things that are has been imposed on you by your society, and also being able to define the path that is right for you. So for me, it was a very big eye-opener for me to look around me and identify what are the things that are being imposed on me that is not me, and also being able to define where I want to go and which path is actually right for me. And chapter 4 actually talks about you. It says that your story is your power, because your thoughts, your emotions, and your story is your life. So it is very important to not overdwell on your past, but then believing something new for yourself and then writing a new story that you can look back at, because your story becomes part of your life. Jumping into the second part, which is about wealth habits. So it talks about the tools that you need to be able to build abundance, and also talks about tools like the power of visualization, and also talks about the power of visualization. So it starts from chapter 5 to chapter 8, and bear in mind, this is just my own classification of things. So chapter 5 actually talks about awakening the inner hero. So what is the inner hero? It talks about that part of you that is stronger, that is better, that can actually help you to evolve to become that same person that is inside of you. And it believes that every single person has that person inside of them. So the chapter talks about arming yourself with the right mindset for success. It introduces the 4 C's, which is courage, confidence, commitment before confidence itself. Because the state of your mind and the level of confidence you have are critical factors that contribute a lot to you becoming a high achiever. So one thing it also mentions about in this chapter is you being able to identify the amazing things about yourself, because there are certain things in your past that you've done that were really good or that went really well that you can lean into to give you more confidence for the new things that you are trying to do in your life. So all of these things are tools that helps you to be able to identify your inner self, or to really build up your inner self to be more successful. And chapter 6 actually talks about one shining goal. That is, successful people are able to say no to almost everything, including the things that try to stop them, that is fear. So it talks about creating your magic list. So your magic list consists of things that you do not want to do because it doesn't contribute to the outcome that you want, and also listing down the specific things that you need to be doing that contributes to the things that you want to have in your life. You need to identify what lights you up, what you are good at, what really advances your finances, and what specific financial goals you have, and what the first action you need to take is. It also talks about the DOS. So DOS is actually a tool that helps you to better articulate the actions that you want to take. DOS means danger, opportunity, and strength. So with the action that you want to take, what is the danger of it? What are the things that could go wrong? What is the worst thing that would happen? The opportunity also talks about you being able to identify what are the things that actually brings to my life. What would this opportunity actually bring to my life? What are the good things that comes out of it? And then you need to look at your strengths. What are the strengths that can help me to overcome the dangers? So you are actually going after the opportunity. So any action that you want to take, any new thing that you want to do, it's not always going to come easy. But then when you use the DOS, you're able to define the dangers that you have, the opportunities that comes with it, and also the strengths that you have to be able to overcome those dangers. So when you're able to do that, it makes it easier for you to take actions instead of worrying a lot about the negative things that could happen or the bad things that could happen. So chapter 7 and chapter 8 actually leans a bit more into business, but it still focuses more on you. That is, if you want to run a business, how can you have the right mindset to do it better? So chapter 7 talks about attraction and persuasion, and it really helps you to understand marketing and sales from a very ethical perspective, because many times people think marketing is just you trying to put in gimmicks to try and get people to buy from you, but he actually talks about the importance of it, and he actually gives an analogy of you trying to help someone quit from an addiction. Now, let's say you have a loved one that you love so much, but then they are struggling with some addiction, and you actually want them to break away from that addiction because you know that if they keep on doing it for a very long time, it might not end up well. So you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that they are convinced to take an action for a good cause. So understanding marketing and sales really helps you to know that, hey, your product is going to be something that helps people to solve their problem. So if you have a very good product that you believe can solve the problems of other people, then marketing and sales becomes a tool that helps you to deliver that value to people. And he also shares some very fundamental things about making sales and doing marketing. That is, people want to be understood. Many times people will try to pitch an idea to someone and keep on talking and talking and talking. But the moment someone feels like you understand them, you understand the problem that they are facing, then they are able to make a sale or buy your product. So it is very important for you to understand the pain of other people, what their fears are, how they think, and why they even think that way. And there are so many tools out there that can help you to be able to get into the context of the people that you're trying to solve a problem for. Now, so this wasn't part of the book, but I think this is something that is worth mentioning. There are tools like value proposition, customer journey mapping, empathy mapping, and so many other tools that helps you to be able to understand more about the people that you're trying to solve a problem for. This way, whenever you're trying to build anything or trying to do anything for someone, you become more empathetic about understanding them instead of trying to assume that you know what they need. So chapter 8 actually talks about the importance of what happens after the yes. That is, there's so much you need to do and there's so many things that need to be taken care of even after you've made a sale. People will forget your name, people will forget what you do for a living, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So you want to be able to take care of your customers even after they've purchased your products, help them to use your product. So build a relationship business instead of a transaction business. And this is a very good habit to build because many entrepreneurs or many people try to get the sale and try to make the selling, but once that happens, they forget about every other thing. People can do a refund, but it is very important that you build a very good relationship with the people that you sell to. So to the last part, which is life habits. So it talks about some of the importance of happiness, fulfillment, purpose, and it really sums up many of the things. It starts from chapter 9 to chapter 11. So chapter 9 talks about the power of happiness. That is, in the pursuit of a financial success, you want to be more intentional about your happiness, because happiness can actually be the center of your success. So chapter 10 actually talks about certain hacks to success, and it gives you a bunch of things that you can start to do to help you to be more successful or to ease your way into being more successful. And one of the things that I personally liked was being able to stash cash. So what that would do for you is that it helps you to be more confident about making decisions in the future. You are not always in a rush to try and do things to make money for the now, because you've ended up saving some kind of money there to support you, and you think more from the perspective of abundance, and you're able to make more quality decisions. And the last part, which is chapter 11, talks about the challenge. It wraps up the entire book by pointing out the importance of being able to do anything, no matter how big it is, once you make the decision to be able to do it, once you become so focused on it to be able to get it done. So this is a quick review of the book itself and some of the things that I personally learned from the book. So after reading the book, it helped me to develop my skills as a web developer and a product designer. So I tried doing so many things. Not all of them went so well, but I think at the end, it actually gave me the opportunity to work with an international company as a software designer. And also, one of the things that it has really helped me to do is to be more intentional about my habits, because I know what each habit is kind of creating inside of me, and also work more consistently and intentionally to keep those habits. So I do believe that there are certain little things that you can change in your life that can help you to move more towards certain outcome that you want for your life. There is so much to learn and practice on the journey to success, but remember, simple steps can lead to the future that you desire. And this is what I have for you in this video. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, thanks for tuning into this video, and see you in the next video.